activities from our selected stock exchanges.
The global business where we bring you up to speed on business activities, making the rounds all over the world. And we bring the conversation home on the segment
Eastern Business Report,
as we discuss business activities and issues bedeviling businesses in the Southeast region. My name is Ubon Kings. Join the Afia Business Morning every weekday 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Exclusive to Afia TV on DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. The Afia Business Morning. Business unusual.
Top of the morning to you. It's Monday, the 17th day of March 2025, and I want to welcome you to the Afia Business Morning. And as always, we'll take a look at all the activities with reference to all activities from our selected exchanges. We'll also take out the time to look at everything happening with the world of business and global business. And then, of course, activities and conversations from around the market will come to you on Afia. And just so you know, the Afia Business Morning takes center stage every weekday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. My name is Ubon Kings. Welcome to the Afia Business Morning. Trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange is open today. The exchange in London opened an hour ago. The New York exchange is yet to open, while in China, opening bells went off at 2 a.m. local time. Welcome to the opening bell. And then before we get into all the activities from our selected exchanges, let's bring you up to speed on some business news stories making the rounds. We're starting off from the continental economy, where it's reported that Niger junta has expelled 3 Chinese oil executives. Story has it that Niger's military government has expelled 3 Chinese officials from the oil sector due to disputes over local staff wages and delays in project execution, which reflects broader effects by West African military regimes to assert greater control over their natural resources. And to the global economy now, Cuba is in the news as it's reported that it is suffering another massive power outage, leaving millions in the dark. Cuba, which suffered 3 widespread cuts in its energy system at the end of last year, leaving the island in the dark amid serious economic crisis, has suffered a massive power cut in its capital, Havana, over the weekend, as efforts to restore power proceeded in fits and starts as at the time of this report, with setbacks slowing progress and leaving several millions without electricity across the island. Bring you details of these stories and more on global business. And away from that, let's jump right now onto the floor. So far, featured exchanges, and starting off on the floor with the Nigerian Stock Exchange, where the MGX All-Share Index Afia weekend closed on the low, falling by 0.21% to close at 105,955.30 points. A total of 750,575,416 shares, valued at 11,56,879,076 naira, were 67 kobo, were traded across 10,584 deals with equity capitalization of 66,351,685,228,097 naira in 28 kobo. Now let's take a look at the biggest gainers and losers of the day. The biggest gainer of the day was Royal X, which rose by 10%. Other gainers were the likes of Lincoln Shaw, Guinea Insurance, NML West Africa, and Red Star Exports. On the other hand, however, Tantalizer topped the losers list with a decline of 9.85%. Other losers were the likes of Jais Bank, Nemeth, Dangote Sugar, and Lasaco. We will take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be looking at activities from other selected exchanges. I'm talking about the likes of the New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, and the Chinese Stock Exchange, which of course comprises the Shenzhen and Shanghai exchanges. The Afia Business Morning indeed opening bell. I'll be right back after this time out. Stay tuned. You're welcome back to the Afia Business Morning. You're still watching Opening Bell. We're moving straight to the floor of other featured exchanges, and we're continuing with the New York Stock Exchange this morning, where it's all rises in index values across the board. The NYSE Composite DJ all the way to NASDAQ 100, all up at 1.89%. NY US 100 index up 1.53%. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 1.65%. S&P 500 index up 2.13%. The NYSE 5 TM index is up with a huge margin of 3.23%. NASDAQ Composite, NASDAQ 100 both up at 2.61% and 2.49% respectively. Away from that, we move on over to the UK, London Stock Exchange more specifically, and it's also all rises in index values across board. The FTSE 100 is up 1.05%, FTSE 250, FTSE 350, FTSE All-Share Index all up at 1.56%, 1.11% and 1.11% respectively. And the question is, when we move over to Asia, China more specifically, will that be the same order of events? Yes, indeed. Starting off at Shenzhen, where it is also all rises. Index values across the board. The Shenzhen Composite Index is up at 2.25%. The ZSE Composite Index is up 2.05%. The China Index up 2.80%. Now, is this going to be the same order of events? While we remain in China, we move over to Shanghai, where interestingly too, it's all rises in index values across board. The SSC Composite Index is up 1.81%. The SSC 50 Index is up 2.85%. The Star 50 Index up 1.72%. SSE 180 Index, SSE 380 Index, CSI 300 Index, all up 2.23%, 1.59%, and 2.43% respectively. We'll take another break, and this time when we return, we'll be looking at commodity prices as well as consumer price watch in the upper market. And just before the break, let me remind you that there is an opportunity for you to win 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025, with registration and voting capped at 100 naira only. To register and vote, kindly visit www.fonzweb.com/brandwars or download the Fonzie app available on Google Play and iOS stores. For inquiries, call, send SMS, WhatsApp messages to the number 091 5533 4949. This program is powered by Fonzie and Landmark Africa Group, season sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, and Obalende Enugu. The Afia Business Morning will be right back after this time out. Stay tuned. You're welcome back, and I am Ubong Kings. It's still the Afia Business Morning, and you are watching Opening Bell Radio on Afia TV. It's time to check in on commodity prices, and we will start with precious metals. And incidentally, it's pretty much downward movement for gold and almost all precious metals except for palladium, which is up at 0.26%. However, gold, silver, and platinum all down 0.14%, 0.10%, and 0.02% respectively. Energy is our next up. Interestingly, it's mostly dips. Only one commodity is up, and that is oil Brent up at 1%. Natural gas is down 0.17%. Ethanol is down 0.29%. Coal is down 0.46%. Oil Bonilite is down at a huge margin of 2.84%. Brush River and Quiabo also down, same values. of 0.42%. Our next up is industrial metals this morning. Industrial metals is a mixture of rises and dips, more rises than dips. Two commodities are down, aluminium and iron ore at 0.93% and 0.56% respectively. However, lead is up at 0.82%. Copper is up at 0.58%. Nickel is up at 1.36%. Zinc is also up at 1.78%. Tin is up at a very huge margin of 6.74%. Well, that'll be the size of the package, and you're still watching the Afia Business Morning, and this is Evening Bell. Just so you know, quick reminder that there's an opportunity for you to win as much as 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025, with registration and voting capped at 100 naira only. To register and vote, kindly visit www.fonzieweb.com/brandwars or download the Fonzie app, available on Google Play and iOS stores, to register and vote. For inquiries, call, send SMS on WhatsApp messages to the number 09155334949. This program is powered by Fonzie and Landmark Africa Group season sponsors and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, and Balende Enugu. Up next, we're going to be taking a look at the hikes and prices of food commodities in the urban market, as well as the hikes in fuel prices. And that note, I'll see you tomorrow on the Evening Bell, when the exchanges reopen for trading. The Afia Business Morning, we'll be right back after this time out with global business, where we'll take a look at business news stories around the continent of Africa and the rest of the world. My name is Ubon Kings. Stay tuned. Thank you for rejoining me on the Afia Business Morning. Welcome to Global Business. And here we're going to be taking a look at the business news stories around the continent of Africa and indeed the rest of the world. My name is Ubon Kings. Here are the headlines that we are tracking at the moment. Starting off with business news stories from Africa, where it's reported that Niger junta has expelled 3 Chinese oil experts. And away from that, Cuba suffers yet another massive power outage, leaving millions in the dark. And in the world of aerospace, GE Aerospace secures $5 billion U.S. Air Force contract. We'll bring you details of the stories and more after this time out. Stay tuned. You're watching Global Business right here on the Afia Business Morning, and we will begin with business news stories from Africa, where it's reported that dozens of Gambian women have traveled to Saudi Arabia to work as domestic workers as part of the government's efforts to build stronger ties with the kingdom, with the Middle East's largest economy. This development follows an agreement reached between the Gambia and Saudi Arabia during the 2023 Africa-Arab Summit in Saudi Arabia to recruit both domestic and skilled workers from Gambia to Saudi Arabia. Outsourced recruitment agency, a local firm that facilitates employment placements in Saudi Arabia, revealed that 25 women left for Saudi Arabia in February, followed by 4 more just last week. Meanwhile, Gambian authorities have promoted the $200 monthly salary salary for domestic workers in Saudi Arabia as fair, but critics argue it is too low and leaves workers vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. Now, emphasis for me really would be on the fact that dozens of Gambian women have traveled to Saudi Arabia to work as domestic workers as part of the government's effort to build stronger ties with the Kingdom of Middle East largest economy. Now, the key point is that the Gambia literally supporting, as it were, this move to achieve 2 major things. Number 1 is to build stronger ties with the Saudi Kingdom. Number 2 is to provide work and a source of livelihood for citizens of the Gambia in Saudi Arabia. Now, the difference is that this isn't a case of damage control, as was with the case of Kenya, who adopted the same initiative but as a way of dousing tension during the tax uproar in Kenya. However, this reminds me of Nigeria, as is pretty much the reverse, if you like, the opposite, because it is only Nigeria that the government will mobilize to deport skilled hands and personnel from foreign nations back to Nigeria. Yet the country's economy is pretty much nothing to write home about, and pretty much in shambles, for a lack of better expression, of course. Now the question is why? I guess this is a story for another day. Moving on to other stories making the rounds, and still from Africa, it's reported that Niger's military government has expelled 3 Chinese officials from the oil sector. This is due to disputes over local staff wages and delays in project execution, which reflects broader efforts by the West African military regimes to assert greater control over their natural resources. Meanwhile, the officials who hold key positions at the China National Petroleum Corporation, the West African Oil Pipeline Company, and the joint venture oil refinery SORAS were notified of their departure order and had already departed. However, in 2023, Niger signed a $400 million memorandum of understanding with CNPC related to crude oil sales from the Agadem oil field, but recent actions by the junta signal a shift in the country's approach to foreign investments in its resources. Revoked the license of the Chinese operator Solux International Hotel, accusing it of discriminatory practices and fiscal. I would say that this recent expulsion by Niger's military government of 3 Chinese officials is basically born out of the fact that the West African military regime pretty much wishes to assert greater control, as it were, over their natural resources. Now, a question that comes to handy in this discourse is, let's bring this home, right? Is Nigeria really in control of its natural resources as against foreign nations? Let me attempt an answer, really. Because we would say yes, legally, in quote, the Nigerian government holds ownership, this in paper now, ownership and control of his natural resources, including his minerals, mineral oils, natural gas, all of that within his territory and territorial waters as stipulated by the Nigerian Constitution, like I said, on paper. But this does not seem to be reality on ground. Because according to a research shared with the Times from SBM Intelligence, a Lagos-based analytical group, and it was shared on the cable dated 23rd May 2023. Now, this does reveal that there have been videos on social media and WhatsApp of militant leaders boasting that they are so powerful that Chinese workers wishing to operate in their areas must pay them rent. I just hope we can have that on the screen right now, just so you see what I'm talking about. Now, they have literally taken over swaths of northwest Nigeria, turning the region into the country's bloodiest conflict zone. Now, as reported on that particular daily that I made mention of, in one pocket of Zamfara researchers found there was an interaction with militants that runs so deep that some serve as runners, as it were, for Chinese miners who have spread throughout Nigeria, controlling digs for gold. Now, the country has some of the largest gold reserves in the world. I'm talking about Nigeria. Now, I ask again, is Nigeria really in control of its natural resources as against foreign nations? I'll let you be the judge of that. You're still watching Global Business right here on the Afia Business Morning, Afia TV. And quickly, just before we take a break, this is an opportunity. I mean, there is an opportunity for you to win 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025 with registration and voting pegged at 100 naira only. To register and vote, kindly visit www.fonzieweb.com/Brand Wars or download the Fonzie app, or which is of course available on Google Play and iOS stores. For inquiries, call, send SMS and WhatsApp messages to 091 5533 4949. This program is powered by Fonzie and Landmark Africa Group, season sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, Nobalende, Enugu. We'll take that break right here and right now. When we come back, more stories. Please stay. welcome back to the Afia Business Morning right here on Afia TV. You're still watching Global Business. Now to the rest of our stories. This time we're moving on to the world of aerospace, where it's reported that GE Aerospace, a world-leading provider of jet and turboprop engines, has said it has secured a contract from the U.S. Air Force valued for up to about $5 billion, which surpassed the U.S. government's foreign military sales program for F-110 GE-129 engines and powers the F-15 and F-16 fighter aircraft. However, under the indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity contract, GE will deliver an unspecified number of F-11 engines over a fixed period. Meanwhile, earlier this month, the aerospace giant said it would invest nearly $1 billion in its U.S. factories and supply chain in 2025 in an effort to bolster its manufacturing process and enhance the implementation of new technologies and components. Key point in this conversation or story would be that this is an indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity contract, which means that GE will deliver an unspecified number of F-110 engines over a fixed period. Now, I do not want to look at how much money GE will make from this contract, but I'm reminded of something that bothers me, so much, and that has to do with the federal government's Nigerian federal government's $13 million Boeing simulator, which was reported on the Sun newspaper as of March 16, 2024, just a little over a year ago, as being inactive and uncertified 4 years after acquisition. Now, since we're talking stories from the world of aerospace, are you aware that it was reported, and still in relation to this inactive and uncertified Boeing simulator in Nigeria, that stakeholders emphasize that Nigeria, as it were, is currently missing out on significant income that could have been generated if this simulator had been utilized. Analysts further estimate that this simulator, if the simulator was in operation, actually, the country could thus save up to $4 million annually on pilots' training, in addition to eliminating expenses for hotels and travel. And that is just me putting up, an analogy here. One part of the world is enjoying, so to speak, advancements in the aerospace industry, and we had something, or have, as it were, something that could help us enjoy some of these advances, but no, we're not doing anything about it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll rest my case. And move on to our last story this morning. This is an attempt to end this bulletin, and Cuba is in the news, but not on the very good side of the news, which says that Cuba, as it were, which suffered 3 widespread cuts, as it were, in its energy system at the end of last year, leaving the island in the dark amid a serious economic crisis, has suffered yet another massive power cut in its capital, Havana, over the weekend. As efforts to restore power proceeded in fits and starts at the time of filing this report, with setbacks slowing progress and leaving several millions without electricity across the island. Cuba's grid collapsed Friday evening after a transmission line at a substation in Havana shorted, beginning a chain reaction that completely shut down power generation across the island. The outages are primarily caused by fuel shortages and aging infrastructure. However, authorities on the island have begun a program to install photovoltaic parks, promising that dozens of them will be ready this year. Now, well, the sucker, if you ask me, of installing photovoltaic parks, promising that dozens of them will be ready this year, sounds lovely. Meanwhile, just for sake of emphasis, photovoltaics, PV, often shortened to solar PV, is the direct conversion of sunlight into electricity using materials that exhibit the photovoltaic effect, like semiconductors. And taking us further, France 24 English takes out the time and tells us more as they look at how Cuba suffered another massive power outage, leaving millions in the dark. Let's take a look.
It is the 4th time the island's electricity grid has crashed in 5 months. Flashlights and phone torches are now a routine part of navigating city streets, as Havana locals have grown all too familiar to darkness.
There was a blackout that lasted 3 days. It was long, very long. Food spoils and there's many challenges. Also, the connection and communication is terrible.
Cuba's 9.7 million people are currently living through the country's worst economic crisis in 3 decades. On top of widespread food and medicine shortages, many citizens face daily outages of 4 or 5 hours, caused primarily by a lack of fuel and ageing infrastructure. The island has 8 thermal power plants built in the 1980s and 90s that are prone to regular breakdowns and regularly require maintenance. Officials have often blamed the 6-decade-long US trade embargo for driving up energy costs, but critics suggest the communist government has failed to invest in the sector.
I don't know what the situation in the country is right now, the situation with oil. It seems to me that there are many things missing here that have nothing to do with the blockade or oil.
Cuba's Prime Minister said the government was working tirelessly to ensure a speedy recovery.
Well, follow up with the story and as well as other stories as they unfold and keep you in the loop. And just before we leave, remember there's an opportunity for you to win 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end on the 31st of March 2025 with registration and voting pegged at 100 naira only. To register and vote, kindly visit www.fonziweb.com/brandwars or download the Fonzie mobile app on Google Play and iOS stores. For inquiries, do call, send SMS, WhatsApp messages to the number 091 55 33 49 40. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning. This is the Eastern Business Report, designed to bring you up to speed on business activities and policies affecting businesses and the economy of the southeastern region of Nigeria. It comes right after Global Business on the Afia Business Morning. And on today's edition of the Eastern Business Report, we'll be looking at developing conversations from the business space that we will be delving into in the course of this week. From, of course, the place of the Southeast in cash crops exports. And of course, we're taking a cue from Burkina Faso that has overtaken Senegal, as it were, to become the third largest producer of onions in West Africa and the second largest exporter in the region after Niger. And of course, we're also all looking at power and business concerns in the Southeast, as TCN confirms collapse of 4 towers on Owerri Dollar line due to vandalism. And of course, the geometric power facility fire, oversight on maintenance gaps and effects on businesses in Aba. This will basically form the basis of our session here this morning. My name is Ubong Kings. Welcome. Welcome back to the Eastern Business Report, and on today's edition, like I did say before the break, we'll be looking at developing conversations from the business space. And of course, we're starting off with this one about agriculture. Of course, we already know pretty much that agriculture is one of the most important sectors of Nigeria's economy, and it's reported that more than 70% of our labor force is concentrated in agriculture. It mainly depends on small and scattered agricultural farms. The products that they yield are divided into 2 groups. There's food crops, there's industrial crops, and the latter can also be referred to as cash crops or export crops. Now, these cash crops are an essential component of Nigeria's agricultural sector and economy, and these are crops primarily grown for sale in local international markets. And as far as the Southeast is concerned, oil palm is one of them. Cassava is yet another. Oil palm on one hand, Nigeria is, one of the leaders in oil palm, yes. Oil palm cultivation is widespread, especially across the southern part of Nigeria. I'm interested to know that the states involved are Enugu, Imo, Anambra, and Afia states, right? As far as research has shown. And then there's cassava. Cassava, on the other hand, is one of the most important root crops in Nigeria. And interestingly, too, Anambra, Imo, Enugu states are those states that are known for that. And of course, and this cassava can also be processed into fructose and other use in industry to sweeten fizzy drinks. But then, I'm reminded of something, right, in reference to this agricultural thing, that there are the many challenges farmers face, and the sad reality that our so-called cash crops are not cashing in for us. That's the truth of the matter. And this is also highlighted by a report by VOA. They took out the time to look at these things and proffer some form of solution. Let's take a listen real quickly, and when we come back, we'll move into other things. Please stay.
Moses Diogo, a 59-year-old retired civil servant, has been farming for nearly 30 years. On his 10-hectare farm, he grows rice, beans, and peanuts. He hopes to expand production under the Earn from the Soil initiative. Diogo says with an equivalent of $2,000, he believes he could significantly increase his production.
If I'm able to get 3 million naira, it will help me more. Because last year I planted about 2 hectares of groundnut. But this time around, I said by the grace of God, at least between 4 or 5.
Funded by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the initiative has allocated over $32 million for low-interest loans to smallholder farmers, tax incentives, and plans to create more export zones for global market access. It is focusing on expanding subsistence farming into larger-scale agricultural operations focused on high-value crops like cocoa, sesame, cashew nuts, and ginger for export. Diogo says while this is a good initiative for farmers, he's yet to access government grants or credit support.
I have tried in such a way that at least the procedure, how to get this support. But I tried. All of these proved abortive. But at times when this thing comes, it is difficult for some of us to meet up with the procedure, to know a person, to this and that. Even though it comes, there are some selected ones that normally would not help.
Agriculture contributed about 22.6% to Nigeria's overall GDP and made up about 5.4% of its total exports in the second quarter of 2024, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Abuja-based agribusiness consultant Bridget Okpokoro says there's room for growth, but infrastructure issues need to be addressed.
So we need to increase our capacity of production. We are not able to do that yet because the smallholder farmers are not empowered enough to be able to take on this challenge. Another reason why we cannot export is that I don't think we're meeting the standards of exporting outside the country.
Okpokoro says targeted policies and training to empower smallholder farmers and align with Nigeria's export goals.
If government can come in or other stakeholders can come in and create policies, for example, tax reduction, tax incentives, policies that will make it easy for the farmers who are ready to export.
For Nigeria to meet its 2025 goal of becoming a leading agricultural exporter, experts say it must turn ambition into action by educating and equipping smallholder farmers with modern tools and supportive policies.
All right, a few things jump at me from that particular report, and one of them would be, number one, the fact that our export crops, so to speak, cash crops, are not, we've not met the standard, so to speak. So there is a place for learning how to package and repackage what we produce. That's one. Number two, there's a place for tax waivers and exemptions for especially smallholder farmers. And that's one of the things that was mentioned in that particular report. But then again, like I did say, this is just part of the conversations I'll be having in the course of this week, and how the Southeast has positioned herself, Southeast Nigeria more specifically, has positioned herself to actually, become a powerhouse as far as cash crops in the country is concerned. All of that we'll look at this week. All right, now moving away from that and taking a look at power and business concerns in the Southeast, as TCN did take out the time to confirm 4 towers collapse due to vandalism. Report had that the transmission company of Nigeria, TCN, confirmed the collapse of 4 towers along Owerri Ahoada 132 kV double circuit line due to vandalism. This was disclosed in a statement by TCN's general manager, Mrs. Ndidimba, in Abuja. By stated that the affected towers T171 to T174 were compromised, which led to their collapse. Now, takeaways will be the fact that, well, in November 2024, let's go back memory lane, right? TCN's managing director, as it were, Mr. Sule Abdulaziz, managing director, he actually disclosed that the federal government has spent, listen to this, has spent about 8.8 billion naira in repairing vandalized transmission towers nationwide following a report by Nairametrics. And in 2024 of the same year, the transmission company of Nigeria reported another destruction of its infrastructure, the Shiroro Katampe 330 kV transmission line. The question that one would want to ask, pertinent as it were, is it that the TCN cannot take preemptive steps to avoid this recurrent decimal of vandalism? Yes, I know the people, host communities should, keep an eye open, etc. But then, as the transmission company of Nigeria, is there no preemptive measure that could be taken? I'm actually reminded of a report about 13 transmission towers. Listen to this: 13 transmission towers along the Ahoada Yenogwa 132 kV double circuit transmission line that was vandalized. And incidentally, the incident was first reported by the youth president of the Ukweli community in River State on August 12, 2024. Now, the Port Harcourt region of TCN, led by the general manager of transmission, engineer Emmanuel Akpa, promptly visited the site. They always promptly visit the sites, by the way, just so you know. This site near TCN's Ahoada transmission substation to assess the situation. And let's just see excerpts from that particular visit, and when we come back, we'll take a look. Please stay.
outage, hampering both personal and business activities. Adding to their grievances, residents are burdened by the problem.
This is one of the greatest challenge we have in Port Harcourt region. Virtually everywhere, you see all the towers, all the members of the tower, they remove all these boards, removing all the lower side of. As we are coming on the road, almost virtually all the towers, they have removed all the lower members. They remove them and then sell them for peanuts. So it's a very big challenge to our infrastructure. It is a sabotage to the nation and to TCN in particular. So I think the federal government and all state government, all concerned, should put hands together so that we see how to fight this menace, because it's getting out of hand, especially in Port Harcourt region.
By the way, just so you know, that particular report you just saw was made available by TCN themselves, right? And the question I keep asking, like I did ask before the break, are we saying that there is no preemptive measures that could be taken to avoid these things happening? I mean, I'm reminded that in many other climes, when things like this nature are put in places, there are actually measures are also placed just to make sure that these things are not vandalized by the persons who actually put them. And then, yes, we know that host communities should also play a major role in these things, but much more than that, I think this TCN has a whole lot to do with reference to this. Anyway, you're still watching the Afia Business Morning live from Enugu State, Nigeria. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll look at other things that we wish to look, conversations we need to have in the course of this week. But then again, we're here to remind you that there's an opportunity for you to win 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025 with registration and voting capped at 100 naira only. To register and vote, kindly visit www.fonzweb.com/brandwars. Or better still, download the Fonzie app available on Google Play and iOS stores. To inquire, call, send SMS or some message to the number 09155 334949. This program is powered by Fonzie and Landmark Africa Group, season sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, and Balande Enugu. We'll take that break. When we return now, more stories. Please stay. Welcome back. It's still the Eastern Business Report right here on the Afia Business Morning. And moving on to other stories that we wish to look at in the course of this week. One of them would have to be the story about the geometric power, where it was reported that on March 10 that the fire broke out early Monday morning at the premises of geometric power, operators of Aba Power, Nigeria's newest electricity distribution company, in the Osisioma industrial layout of Afia State. Now, you may be interested to know that the fire started in a temporary building on the premises, in the building which Group 5, a defunct South African electricity firm, had used during the construction of the company's facilities, had stood unused for over 12 years. Now, quite a number of persons are asking questions. The questions bother on number one. Is there a smoke without a fire? Is that something else, an underlying factor, something? And pretty much, is this an oversight or maintenance gaps? And what effects will this have on businesses in Aba have been highlighted? Anyway, I'm going to take you down memory lane when the project finally came to fruition and the reaction, as it were, from Aba to this development with reference to whether or not Aba was having power 24/7 or not. And this is, of course, called from Afia archives of Afia TV. Let's take a look.
Outage, hampering both personal and business activities. Adding to their grievances, residents are burdened by the prospects of hefty electricity bills.
Now talking about power supply, 24 power supply here in Aba, we have never seen that. That's the simple truth. If we look at this supplying, like now, my phone is down. I have no single part in my phone. My fridge is there. I have nothing like that. There's no light. People are asking about cold water, no cold water. But by the end of the day, that's the one that wasted my listeners. By the end of the day, they will still come back and say they will disconnect you. Whether they bring bill or not, they don't bring, even there's no light here. Nothing is affecting us. If we go in the night, no, you will not sleep because of the heat. Come back in the shop, no cold water to drink. People are asking about what we have.
Oh well, we'll follow up with a story as well as other stories and keep you in the loop. And by keeping you in the loop, we're going to be looking at these conversations in the course of this week on the Eastern Business Report. And on that note, I dare say this will be size on the package today on the Eastern Business Report. And just so you know, you can do well to join us on our dedicated YouTube business channel. Right there on the screen, it's displayed right now on your screen. Go there and be part of the channel. Coming up next will be Afia. My name is Ubon Kings. Thank you for your time. Good morning.
Good evening to you, viewer, and welcome to Women in Business, a show that profiles women, executives, and even the next door store owner, showcasing Igbo greatness to the world.
I started always obsessed with books ever since I was a child.
The stress of always converting naira to dollar and
an incompetent means an incompetent person.
My name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Akwamaga.
I am Chioma Akbala.
My name is Ifulaya Ndule, but I'm living in market speaking.
What are your thoughts on the spate of sex formates in Nigerian universities?
This very issue of owing salary should be criminalized.
How can they amplify their voices?
People don't have evidence.
You want to get to know about it? Have to stay tuned right here on Afia Morning Show to get the pulse and the feel of that.